little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I won't let anybody blow it out. No, I'm gonna let it shine. Yeah, I won't let anybody blow it out. I'm gonna let it shine. I won't let anybody blow it out. Oh, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
I'm gonna give you the opportunity to pick on me about how old I am again.
Okay, good deal.
All right, good. I knew you'd like that.
We haven't done that in a while.
I know, and I feel bad for you because I can kind of see how sad you get when you don't have those chances.
Very sad. Hello and welcome to the Moonshine Jesus Show. Thank you for joining us. You were just listening to David Wimbush, our good friend. You can find his music and links to all of our contributors on our website, moonshinejesus.podbean.com. We are winding down the season of Epiphany. It's about to be Lent, so we need to be merry and we need to have fun because soon we're going to have to be grumpy and somber in Lent, right, Mark?
Right. Sad and inward turned and reflective. And no laughter. David, no laughter.
No fun. It's Lent. Have a miserable Lent,
Yeah.
Mark.
Make sure that you figure out how to make your life as miserable as possible for these 40 days.
Yeah, no, once I considered giving up coffee for Lent, and my boss at the time forbid me from doing it. He was like, no, you have to. Anyway.
We have to work with you.
So, Mark, how's it going? We haven't talked in a while, so
Yeah,
how are you, man?
I am doing great because I'm still watching Star Wars.
My kids still won't go back to see it.
No.
We had, some snow days, and we could get out the last couple of days, and I tried to convince them to go see Star Wars, but they refused to do it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they don't want to see Han die again.
I don't blame
sorry
them.
if I just spoiled that for you. I truly apologize.
Uh-oh. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Post-spoiler
Rewind that real quick.
Yeah.
So speaking of movies,
Yes.
the movies award season is currently underway.
Yes, it is.
We are through some of the early awards and are slowly marching our way towards the Oscars.
I see what you did there. March. The Oscars happen in March. Aha.
Wait, the Oscars happen in March?
They usually do. I don't know if they do this year, but usually
I thought they happened in February.
they're
Anyway,
usually close to my birthday. It's the only reason I remember.
the Oscars are happening.
Yeah.
So the question is, do you have a favorite? Do you have a dark horse, Mark?
Dark horse for the Oscars. I think that we might be surprised by the Revenant in the number of awards that it actually wins.
Do you think it'll win Best Picture? Do you think?
I think it's the dark horse for Best Picture. I really do.
Wow. Okay, so that would be two, but the same director in consecutive years. I don't even. Has that ever happened?
Not that I'm aware of, and I'm trying to. I mean, I have been a pretty big Oscar buff for a long time. I don't think there is.
I mean, that would be an incredible coup for him. He would be the person that everybody officially hated because he was so good.
I think that it's a real possibility when I look at the other movies that are on there. Mad Max is beautiful, but here's the thing, David. I don't walk out of movies. I walked out of Mad Max.
What do you mean you walked out of Mad Max?
I was just bored. I was so bored.
But it's an action movie. How is it boring?
It's boring. There's no story. I mean, and I say that after having just said The Revenant may win because it's not got a lot of story. It's a pretty thin story.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
See, I hadn't seen Mad Max. So
It's beautiful.
I
It
can't
is.
think of good-
It is one of the most visually beautiful shows that's been around in a long time. I mean, The Revenant is gorgeous.
Well, I was going to say that's the thing going for The Revenant is it is a beautifully shot movie. The cinematography on that is apparently just
Right.
mind blowing.
Well, and the storytelling is really good. It's a thin story, but it's done well.
Here's my thing about The Revenant, though. The Revenant winds up being a revenge story.
Correct.
With Hugh Glass, the fur trader or trapper or whatnot, who takes revenge on the person who left him for dead, basically.
Well, he takes revenge on him for bigger reason than that. But
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
yeah,
In the original source material,
Yeah.
like the old folk tale, the dime store novel or whatnot, Hugh actually forgives him, tracks him down to kill him,
Yeah.
but then forgives him. And I find it fascinating.
we see. I wonder, does the source material, is it all just about being left behind to die?
It's about being left behind to die and
Okay.
about his journey to track him down to take revenge.
The movie adds another element that
Gotcha.
makes you understand why he might not forgive. Not that he shouldn't forgive, but that it's much more emotionally understandable why he would do it.
Gotcha. Okay. I find it a fascinating idea to take a story whose punchline was originally about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And to transform it into a story whose punchline is about taking revenge. It's interesting to me.
It is an interesting move, but that won't be taken into consideration of whether
No,
it wins or
not at all. Not at all. Not
And
at
so
all.
I think that it stands a real chance at being the dark horse here because, like I said, Mad Max, beautiful but boring. Martian is fantastic, but any kind of almost sci-fi stuff never wins Best Picture.
Okay, so for me as a former journalist,
Yeah.
I gotta say, Spotlight is one of those movies that like hits me like right in the heart. Like it hits
Sure.
all my buttons. I loved Spotlight.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the connection of darkness, the connection of kind of the abuse that happened within the church,
Right.
and the journalist taking on the prophetic role in a way
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
was a super meaningful movie for me. Plus, it's brilliantly acted. Michael Keaton in this movie is incredible.
Yeah.
And you know, Mark Ruffalo's good and Amy Adams is good, but I felt like Michael Keaton just knocked it out of the park on this.
He's been
He
doing
was
that a lot
utterly-
recently.
Yeah.
He's really come. I mean, he's always been an interesting actor.
Yeah.
But
Like
he
what
started-
was that movie, Multiplicity?
Wasn't he Batman? I think Batman.
Multiplicity was a terrible comedy, or something like that.
He's the one that started that whole "I'm Batman."
Yes, right. that's
Batman
right.
didn't talk like that until Michael
So
Keaton.
there's this scene at the end of Spotlight.
Yeah.
And this is after they go to press.
Okay.
And people begin to call into Spotlight to report the abuse that's happened. And they walk in the building and the phones are just going off the hook, going directly to their room. And Spotlight is the name of the investigative reporters at the Boston Globe.
Yeah.
And to hear them picking up the phone and calling and answer them, and it reflected and mirrored how in so many ways they were acting as chaplains to these abuse victims,
Yeah.
and also as advocates for those victims where no one else did.
So-
There was like this moment where it resonated so deeply with me because I came to my calling as a priest
Right.
through experiences in journalism where you met people in their moments of darkness and need.
Right.
And so there it was a really cool connection for me.
So where do you place it within the Best Picture nominations?
I picked that as the dark horse.
Do you
'Cause
really?
I
Do you think you're doing it just because it resonated with you so personally?
I think that, and also it reveals systemic abuse, systemic cover-ups. It's based on a true story. It's terrifically acted.
Yeah.
The storyline's compelling. I think the thing not in its favor is it's very procedural. It's a
Okay.
very procedural journalism, uncovers and reveals. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, right down to the shot of the news rolling off the fresh press and all that. There were a lot of procedural shots that seemed straight out of your classic journalism movie. So for me, it's not the unique part of the storyline is its subject matter, not necessarily its content.
Okay. All right, fair enough. So what about the actors? Do you have a favorite actor in terms of who's been nominated? You want me to roll the list off?
I will tell you right now,
Okay.
if Brie Larson doesn't win for Room, I will be incredibly disappointed. She was brilliant and amazing in that film. I'm a huge fan of hers based on that movie. Her interaction with the boy who plays her son, Jacob Tremblay,
Yeah.
was beyond believable. It was a great movie, beautifully acted. That's also one of my favorites for Best Picture too. What about you?
I think that there's a little more politics involved, so I'm not sure that's going to happen. I think that Hollywood is really ready for Kate Blanchett on this time around. I really think that's going to be probably what happens, just because that's the way the Academy tends to work.
Yeah, like DiCaprio's going to win probably best actor.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't win it. No, it's going to be DiCaprio. I think you're right. It's going to be DiCaprio. I don't see anybody
I think
else.
if DiCaprio doesn't win, there will be an absolute uproar. But this leads to something that we should probably talk about. Talking about these folks who've been nominated, they're all white. Like everybody.
I see white people.
Like, I mean, it's not to say that they did a poor job in their films or whatever, but the lack of any people of color is remarkably absent this Oscars.
And it was last year too. I mean, I think that there's a short or a short documentary that's nominated that's directed by an African American woman, and I think that might be it, isn't it? I mean, it's not much more than that.
Yeah, it's
and certainly not any of the 7 majors.
No, not at all. The ones that really matter to people,
right? The ones people are going to be paying the most attention to. Yeah,
and it's when you scroll through the films, it's really remarkable to see that, because there have been good films that feature people of color.
There have been a couple of
Creed comes to mind.
Creed, exactly. Straight Outta Compton was an amazing movie.
And it wasn't nominated for anything, right?
For anything. And there's several things it should have been nominated for.
Or the things that it was nominated for, the people who were part of that were actually...
Were the white. They were nominated for... Best Screenplay. It was 2 white guys. That was the only thing that got
like
nominated.
A massive facepalm. Like it's
like let's see, how can we make this more clear what we're doing? Oh, I got it. Let's look at a film that comes out of black culture and nominate the 2 white guys.
Okay, so
which is the beautiful spoof that Saturday Night Live did of this. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
They did an Oscar spoof where, and I think it was all started from Straight Outta Compton, because, like, for instance, when it came time for the Best Actor awards, they would name these films, and they were films that were very clearly about African American culture and struggles in the early history of the, and then they would talk about who's nominated. It was always a white guy, and they would say, "Let's see a clip," and there would be this really dramatic clip, and first it was like a white guy walks through the city and says, "Would you like pepper with that?" And he's the nominee, and it gets down to the point where it's just a white guy who happens to walk through and looks, and he sees that there's a whole bunch of African American folk, and he slowly backs off the screen. But he's the guy that got nominated.
Now, okay, so here's what I want to ask, though. Is it fair to hammer on the Oscars themselves, or is this something deeper that we should be talking about? Because it's easy to hashtag Oscars so white. It's good. It raises awareness. Mm-hmm. But is there more going on here that's on a systemic level?
Yes and yes.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, so it reflects not just the movie industry currently, but the movie industry historically. I mean, the first real blockbuster film was D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation, which was essentially a KKK fantasy.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that's where you get from. So, I mean, like, really, we're seeing the culmination of something that has long history within the film industry.
And here's a beautiful thing that's happening is Birth of a Nation is being remade. And it looks like it's going to be fantastic.
Well,
but it's not going to. It's going to be.
No, it's a completely different film. It's based on the Nat Turner Slave Rebellion.
Right. But they're taking the whole name. They're taking the name of it, so they're using the same name.
The repurposing of the name, I think, is one of the most brilliant kind of things to do, because it's talking about the birth of a different kind of nation.
Exactly.
I love.
I tell you what. This is actually really interesting. This direction we're going in terms of the Oscars and racism and the larger systemic problems. Because I think this is a bigger conversation, let's go ahead and drop a little tunes right here, come back on the other side, and maybe look more specifically at Hollywood and how it might be a reflection of larger society.
Moonshine Jesus, no eye in the sky. Moonshine Jesus, baby, no right. Moonshine Jesus, a surprise and delight. Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
Hello, and welcome to round 2 of the Moonshine Jesus Show. So, David, we kind of started wrapping up the first round while turning our view away from who's nominated and who might win, talking about who wasn't nominated and who maybe should have been nominated, and why the Academy is like that. And we certainly have lots of examples. Will Smith in Concussion,
Right.
easily could have been nominated and should have, I would say. It was an amazing transformation and a beautiful role. Like we mentioned, straight
On
out
a
of Compton.
on a socially significant topic too. I mean
Yeah,
that's
a very
it's not-
contemporary, very contemporary and something that we're still dealing with. I mean,
in a lot of ways more contemporary than something like Spotlight. I mean, one of the
absolutely.
reasons Spotlight, I think, is nominated in addition to the acting is because it's on this contemporary issue, and Concussion is so much more contemporary,
Sure.
and so much more
yeah, absolutely.
pertinent right now.
And so, the question of is this a reflection of Hollywood or is it a reflection of a bigger systemic issue? And my answer was yes and yes, essentially. But I'm gonna give you the opportunity to pick on me about how old I am again.
Okay, good deal.
All right, good. I knew you'd like that. I knew you could.
We haven't done
appreciate
that in a while.
I know, and I don't. I feel bad for you because I can kind of see how sad you get when you don't have
I
those
know.
chances.
Very sad.
So back in 1987, I was writing for my college paper, and I was
Wow.
okay, yeah. Go ahead.
You know what I was doing in 1987? I was playing with my G.I. Joe
coloring
figures.
books,
I was playing with my G.I. Joe figures
coloring
in
books,
second-
and asking your mom if you could take your pull-ups off now.
in second grade.
Oh, okay, so not quite pull-ups, but close.
No, still pull-ups.
Oh, okay, all right. I should have known. Is that why you had to have extra time during the break this time?
We had some issues.
Yeah, so I wrote in 1987 an article about the racism of the Academy.
Wow.
See, it was. Oh, and I got horrible responses. I had one.
sure.
I had one professor at the school write a response that got printed that said that we need more writing like Mark Sandlin's. Like I need another boil on my ass.
You got a response from a professor at your school when you were in college?
Yeah, I did. A
Wow.
bunch of them, actually, several times for different things I wrote. But this was what had happened. The Color Purple had come out. It had been nominated for 11 Oscars, and it won nothing. Not a thing.
Yeah.
And so I wrote, I just said, we really need to be paying attention to what's going on here. This is not normal. There is something blatantly racist going on here. And so all the way back that far, it was clear that that's what was going on. And here we are 30 years later, and we're still seeing it even in more blatant ways.
Right. And the thing that's so troubling to me about this is because our nation has become much more racially diverse.
Yeah.
The Academy in no way reflects the actual country anymore, the actual movie going public in any way whatsoever. And so, even if you didn't want to use the word racism, which I agree is a good word to use, just plain and simple representation of who watches movies, who goes to movies, who acts in movies.
Yeah.
It doesn't work anymore. The Oscar, the Academy membership is what, 94% white?
Yep, that's right.
And like 73% men.
Yep.
And so this is where you get to this idea of institutional power and how institutional power works. And there have been so many great films. I mean, you think about Selma last year with Ava DuVernay.
Oh, wow. That was just an unbelievably good movie.
Yes, and it was an unbelievably big snub.
Yeah, massive.
And so you've got all this kind of stuff going on that I think speaks to the need for institutional reform, the need for a fair distribution of power within the Academy.
Well, there's been with everything that came out, there's a lot of conversation now going on about the racism of the Academy. I would say not only is that the racism of the Academy reflective of the systemic racism that we have in the United States, but it's become a self-propagating systemic issue in the Academy.
Right.
And so there's a big part of me who resonates with it. At first I was like, no, because I love the Oscars. One of the things that's been suggested is just stop doing the awards through the Academy.
Interesting.
I'm not so sure that's not a great idea. At first, I hated it.
But I'm not even sure the problem is necessarily the Academy itself. I mean, that's part of the problem.
Right.
But you also have to look at the movie studios. Like, who are making the decisions to greenlight movies, to select movies, to produce movies, to direct movies? And film studio heads are 94% white, 100% male.
Sure.
Senior management is overwhelmingly white and male. And so you've got an industry that's overwhelmingly led by one certain demographic.
Right.
It makes sense that the kinds of films that are going to be greenlit are going to reflect that in some way or another. And I don't want to.
But we don't. It's not that we don't have nominations because there weren't good movies, though. I mean, I agree. The movies are disproportionately white that come out, but there were plenty of very good movies that deserved to be nominated that weren't.
Absolutely. I mean, I completely agree. But if you think about the number of Oscar-promoted films, because part of the Oscars is all about that promotion.
Absolutely.
Who are you putting that money into? Who are you campaigning for?
Right.
What kind of institutional support are you getting from your movie studio as far as promoting that? And I think part of that is going to come down to your movie studios and who makes those decisions.
But you see, you just made another argument of why we should just get rid of the Oscar awards.
Because it's all about campaigning.
Because it's all about campaigning and who's going to pump the most money into the right, areas and to promotions and it's gotten so bad that the need to win an Oscar has started defining when movies get released.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure that makes for a healthy industry, frankly.
But the flip side of that is, if you don't have something like the Oscars, which tends to favor movies that may not do as well commercially, but have some valid artistic or social importance, like a movie like Spotlight, would you have those kinds of movies continuing to be made?
I think that 10 years ago, that's a beautiful argument. Sorry. I think with social media like it is now, that you don't need some kind of giant award for people to be made aware of a good piece of film, a good piece of art. When it happens, it gets buzz. It builds its own buzz now. So I don't think it's necessary. I also don't think that eliminating the Oscars means necessarily eliminating awards that happen. I mean, there'll be other ways that film will be, recognized and awarded. I mean, it's never going to happen. It's just kind of an interesting concept of, of this would be one way to kind of not. And this was, I want to say it was Morgan Freeman that first had the idea. I don't remember, but it was of someone with a long history in Hollywood who first made the suggestion that maybe that's a solution. It won't happen because they don't ever want to have a break in being able to say who won the Oscar in whatever year.
And it's an institutional thing, and it's hard to kill an institution. I mean,
Ain't that the truth?
Just look at the mainline church. I mean, it's hard to kill an institution.
It is. Even when it's unhealthy, it tends to fight for its life.
So it's a systemic problem. But you have a film that's come out at Sundance, called Birth of a Nation. And if you haven't heard of this, I highly suggest that you go online and Google it and read the buzz it's been getting, because it basically follows the Nat Turner Rebellion. And if you don't know about that, I highly recommend that you do that. But
as a matter of fact, go read about it before watching the movie.
And Nate Parker, the director, and I think the star in it actually,
writer, director, and star.
Yeah, so did this intentionally, wrote this movie, directed this movie, made this movie intentionally to kind of provoke folks to reflect and to think about our nation, what our nation is, and who we are as a people. And as we were saying in the last one, this takes a foundational film in American history.
Co-ops the name.
Co-ops the name to provide the exact opposite message in a lot of ways. I think it's going to be a powerful film.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard it's really brutal from the reviews, so it will not be for the faint of heart.
No. But here's the thing. I haven't seen this kind of buzz coming out of Sundance in a long time.
And I think this is where you can see something like social media activism, like Oscars So White, having a deep impact, because I think the Academy recognized there was a problem, and the film industry recognized there was a problem, maybe for the first time, and maybe they're starting to take some serious action. It'd be nice to see some change. But
Absolutely.
we have much more to talk about after we drop some music, because we have hashtag games, and so let's drop some music, and we'll come back and we'll have some fun.
Moonshine Jesus. Moonshine Jesus. Moonshine Jesus. Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
Hello and welcome back to round 3 of the Moonshine Jesus Show. This is where we revisit our hashtag game from previous weeks, and we come up with a new one. So last week, which was, 2 weeks ago?
Week and a half ago.
Week and a half ago. We decided to keep having some fun with Star Wars, so we decided to do Star Wars pop soundtrack, as if the Guardians of the Galaxy
Take on way of
folks.
Yeah.
Exactly. Took over for John Williams, in other words.
Right.
And so we had a lot of players
Yes.
and a lot of good stuff. Mark, what caught your eye? Because I have a couple that caught
Sure.
mine, and I'm sure you're going to steal them.
I think it's fair. Last time you stole all of mine, so it's
You're welcome.
Turnabout's fair play. Some of the first one that really caught my eye comes from Troy Mead at CTMDPT.
If you take the one that I'm about to say,
I'm about to say it. I love this one. So it's when the Falcon takes off. I can't drive 55. That would be the perfect song. The first time you see the Falcon take off, I can't drive 55. That'd be perfect. Absolutely perfect.
okay, I'm glad you didn't take mine from Troy, because the one that caught my eye was when Han falls off the bridge, played "Jump" by Van Halen.
I actually do have that one a little bit later. I love this one from Leo Holzer, a friend of both of ours. He says, when Kylo to Han, when Han's talking to him on the bridge, Papa don't preach. That's awesome.
So apparently I'm kind of obsessed with the scene where Han dies.
Yeah.
And so this is from Stefan Vermette, when Kylo Ren kills Han, "Who Wants to Live Forever" by Queen. Oh, it's so sad.
So sad. At Rev Vermetti, that's Rev _VERMETTE. When R2-D2 repairs the hyperdrive of the Millennium Falcon, domo arigato, Mr. Roboto, domo.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that one a whole lot.
Yeah.
I could totally get down with that one. And I like the one from Adrian Doms, when Han and Chewie arrive back on the Falcon. The boys are back in town. I think that would
that's
actually
perfect.
have just the right vibe.
That's
that's just
actually
the right
perfect. Maybe that I didn't. Somehow I missed that one. That one is all. I can't see one being much better than that.
Vibe. Yeah,
I think we should actually just leave it there, because that one's really like that would have been perfect. Like I actually would have liked it if they had done that. I wouldn't have found it distracting at all.
So we got to come up with a new hashtag. We've been talking about movies and the Oscars. We've been talking about the overwhelming whiteness of the Oscars.
Right.
So we should do something with that.
That's a great point. So how about if we recast the Oscars?
All right.
So
All
I mean,
right,
that
I
could be
think
the
that
whole
would work.
hashtag right there. Hashtag recast the Oscars.
And
so-
it doesn't have to be like
No.
recast them with people of color. It could
Exactly.
be fun. But although you could have some fun, because if you recast The Martian
Yeah.
with any black actor,
Oh no.
the film would suddenly turn into a short film, and the U.S. government would be like, "What? We'll just leave him," and then the film's over.
Yeah, or you could just recast something like The Revenant and put in any kind of badass actor like Jean-Claude Van Damme
Or Chuck Norris.
Or Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris is perfect. The bear comes up to attack him. He turns. The bear sees that it's Chuck Norris. The bear
runs
chucks
away.
down and runs. Movie over. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
this.
okay, so that could be a lot of fun. You could do a whole one of just casting Chuck Norris and everything.
And everything,
Chuck,
yeah. You could do
Chuck
whatever.
Norris in Room. He kicks
So-
down the door that he's in prison. Movie over.
A movie
It's
over.
5-minute movies with Chuck
Right,
Norris.
right. There's so many ways you can go on this. So just keep in mind, let's make it about the Oscar nominees, not just the best pictures, but even movies that had the best actor, actress supporting, director,
definitely.
all of them. That could be a lot of fun. It's the way to go. So, hey, David.
Recast the Oscars.
David, I just want to say I'd like to present to you an award. I think that you've been exceptional this show. And so we don't usually give a lot of awards out, but I think that you should get if there was a game ball for the show, I think that you would get the game ball. And I'd like to give you the opportunity to give your thanks and appreciation.
I just like to thank all those people who believed in me when no one else did, and who kept me going when I fell on hard times, and with their love and their encouragement. I'd like to thank my wife and my 2 children and my parents and my in-laws, and I'd even like to thank my grandparents and my great-grandparents and all my directors throughout my life. And I can't believe this.
Moonshine in Jesus, there's gold in them hills. Keep them all happy, cure all their ills. Moonshine in Jesus, grapes on the vine. Moonshine in Jesus, make them feel fine. 24 hours, 8 days a week. Whiskey and praying make us so weak. Get up each morning, head out the door. Work till you're weary, can't work no more. Years later, you sit and you think, thank God they gave me this time just to drink. Moonshine in Jesus, you know it's all wrong. They make it so easy to just tag along. The prayers go to heaven, your liver to hell. Your mind can't believe that they planned this so well. Moonshine and Jesus, yes, that is the way to get us to give up our souls every day.